What's up guys, here are my predictions for UFC Fight Island 5 happening this Saturday, and the card is actually pretty nice. 14 fights on the entire card, so it's going to be a pretty long night with a lot of prospects, man, and a lot of names I'm not going to be able to pronounce. Giga Shikadze is going to be fighting Marlon Moraes, a fight between two insanely talented strikers in the featherweight division. Tom Breeze vs KB Bular is a very interesting fight. Thomas Almeida is making his comeback 2 years of a layoff up against a top contender in Alejandro Perez. Tom Espinal's on the card. Dricus du Plessis is one of the best prospects on the entire card, but the best prospect is 100% Tagir Ulanbekov, who is actually ranked the #1 Russian flyweight on the planet and is a huge favorite over Bruno Silva. Keep your eye on Tagir. He's the first fight of the entire card, but we are going to start with Ben Rothwell versus Marcin Tibor. They are both on 2 win streaks. Ben Rothwell defeating Stefan Struve and Ovince St. Preux, much higher caliber than Tibor's recent opponents in Sergey Spivak and Maxime Grishin. Marcin Tibor is going to be the superior technical striker, right? He moves very well for a heavyweight, he puts together combinations, and he masks his kicks very well behind his punches. And specifically, that left high kick is something that Rothwell is going to have to be cautious about because he's constantly leaning into his right. Not because of head movement or anything like that, he just naturally leans his head to his right side. And if Tibor has the right kind of distance and sets it up perfectly, he can end this fight with a high kick, but Rothwell has an insane chin, man. I mean, I've hardly seen any fighter ever in the UFC take shots like Rothwell can. And that is definitely going to test Tibor because Tibor does not have good cardio. He is not the same fighter in the second round, and he's definitely not the same fighter in the third. Every time he goes into the third round, it looks like he's surviving, even if he's winning the fight. In the first round, he's very methodical, very calculated, putting together combinations extremely well. In the second round, he's lunging for overhands, not setting anything up, and he's moving in straight lines. In the third round, he's constantly going to clinches just to stall out the round. And that's where the problem lies. I do believe Rothwell's going to lose the first round. I think Tibor's movement and his kicks to the leg and to the body are going to add up some points for him to do enough to win the round. But then in the second round, due to him throwing overhands and lunging punches, he's eventually going to get caught. Because Tibor does not disengage when he throws punches. When he's moving forward, he does not retract, he does not retreat, he doesn't take another angle, and he just doesn't stop. He literally crashes into his opponent, gets into the clinch, and that is where he's going to start losing the fight. Rothwell's a much bigger man, he's more powerful, he has better cardio, he has better chin, he's better in the clinch, he's more technical in the clinch from positions, tied plums, elbows, knees, trips. He can stamp Tibor down, start going for the chokes, and with the bigger man on top of him, it's not gonna help the cardio deficiency that Tibor already has. And then in the third round, I just don't see how Tibor is going to put together things enough to get away from the clinch, because that's what he usually does. He likes to get into the clinch, crash into there, and try to win on points. And that's where my prediction goes. I got Ben Rothwell in this fight. He's going to lose the first. I see him winning the second and third. I believe Rothwell is going to TKO a tired Tibor up against the cage with a volume of punches. And then we go to Edson Barboza versus Makwan Amirkhani. A very interesting fight for Edson Barboza in the featherweight division. And to be honest, I do think it's a favorable fight for Barboza because Makwan Amirkhani is a strong wrestler, but he's not a technical striker. He relies on his newfound boxing skill as well as flying knees and wild stuff like that. But when you look at attributes and you look at skills, Barboza has Amirkhani trumped almost everywhere, besides if the fight actually hits the mat. Barboza is more powerful, he's faster, he's longer, he's more athletic, he has better movement, he has better cardio. All around the board, a better striker, better boxer, better kicker, better in the clinch, better with knees, better with elbows, and his takedown defense, I believe, is enough to stop Amirkhani's constant wrestling. First round might be tough, where Amirkhani is a bit fresh, but he gasses out, man. Every time you see him in the third round, he's exhausted. And especially against a guy like Barboza, where he has to rely on his takedowns, that double leg takedown, to really start taking over the fight. It's going to require a lot of effort, and he's going to come up against a lot of resistance from Barboza, and Barboza has that flying knee ready to go at all times. As the takedowns get thwarted and the disengagement happens, Barboza has an opportunity to really pounce on Amirkhani. And Amirkhani just doesn't move his head that much either. He's extremely open to jabs, and we haven't seen him fight a kicker like Barboza yet, right? He barely fights any kickers, and he's fighting probably the best kicker in the UFC. So my prediction for this fight, I'm going to go with Edson Barboza. I'm going to go by a third round knockout. And then we go to the main event. Marlon Moraes versus Cory Sandhagen. 2 top contenders of the bantamweight division, coming off very tough fights, with Marlon Moraes getting a very controversial win over Jose Aldo, and before that losing to Henry Cejudo, and Cory Sandhagen got submitted by Aljamain Sterling in the very first round. Man, is this a fascinating fight. Marlon Moraes, probably the most powerful fighter in the bantamweight division at the moment. He might be the best first round fighter in the UFC currently. I don't think he's ever lost the first round. He even won the first round against Jose Aldo and Henry Cejudo. It's because his opponent does not realize how fast he is and how powerful he is and how precise he is up until they stand in front of him. That's why Jose Aldo and Henry Cejudo had to adjust in the fight, switch it up a bit, and start walking him down, because if you stay away from him or you stay in the center of the cage like Aljamain Sterling did, Jimmy Rivera did, Rothwell Sansao did, right? He's throwing switch high kicks like they're jabs. It's insane to see, and that is absolutely his best technique. But how is he going to attack Sandhagen? Sandhagen is a lot more versatile, where he'll switch stances, he'll throw front kicks, leg kicks, he goes to the body a lot, and that's going to be a huge component in this fight. A big key for Sandhagen to win this fight is constantly going to the body and drain that gas tank. He needs to do enough in the first 2 rounds to make sure that Marlon Moraes is not the same fighter in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. I don't believe Sandhagen is going to finish this fight in the first 2 rounds, and he really needs to take those 2 rounds strategically, because even though Marlon Moraes is pushed back pretty easily and Sandhagen is generally a pressuring fighter, those early exchanges with the leg kicks, the blitzing right hand of Marlon Moraes, the switch high kick, the body kicks and stuff like that, those are going to be pretty alarming for Sandhagen early on. So keeping his long distance, throwing kicks to the body and to the legs, pumping a lot of jabs, many feints just to draw out the power shots from Marlon Moraes, and continuously putting the pressure on him, that is what Sandhagen's going to have to do in the first 2 rounds. 3rd round comes in, starts going to the body, using close range body shots, sticking on Marlon Moraes, and allow the output, the volume, to take over the fight and eventually beat down Marlon Moraes. That is the best way Sandhagen, I think, is going to win this fight. Marlon Moraes' chances really come from catching Sandhagen when Sandhagen decides to box close range. Sandhagen is most vulnerable when he's throwing his hands, just generally speaking, because he just relies on pulling motions, moves his head back, but he always has his hands down. When he's punching forward, it's the same thing. His hands are down, and he doesn't retract that quickly. At kicking range, he's insanely hard to deal with, because there is where he retracts quickly, he uses his athleticism, and he's able to pull away from your strikes, and he answers with more kicks. But when you see him in the Sunsao fight, where he's ripping that left uppercut to the body, or he's throwing a straight right hand down the pipe, for some reason, he just does not retract those punches quick enough, and I believe Marlon Moraes, being the faster, explosive striker, he might be able to meet Sandhagen during those moments and connect on him, getting his head off center line, throwing a big overhand right, throwing a left hook, something like that, and winning the exchange through power and speed and precision. But there's another opportunity for Marlon Moraes in this fight. Go for takedowns. Sandhagen has below average takedown defense. He's not great at defending takedowns. Due to his movement, it is hard to generally get close to him for takedowns, but if you're able to catch the kicks, make him pull away from your hands, and then go to the takedown right behind it, when you create contact with him, usually you're able to get Sandhagen to the ground. And Marlon Moraes should be the superior Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. So if it gets to the ground, I do believe Marlon Moraes should be able to win the fight, submit Sandhagen. And that aspect of the fight is what makes this very hard to call. But my prediction is, I'm going to go with Cory Sandhagen. I can absolutely be wrong on this, and I'm going to go by a 5th round TKO. And then we look at the betting odds here. Tracy Cortez is a moderate favorite over Stephanie Egger. Tracy Cortez has some hype to her, but she's fighting a better grappler. Stephanie Egger has competed in high-level grappling before, man. She's a high-level judoka, as well as competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments. Even went up against Gabby Garcia and threw her on her head, right? Imagine that, throwing Gabby Garcia over. I do think Cortez is going to have the advantage in the striking range, but if it ever gets on the ground or ever gets in the clinch, Egger is going to probably dominate the fight. So I don't agree with Cortez being the favorite. I actually favor Egger to win the fight. I do think Impa is too big of a favorite against Buckley. A lot of people are high on him, but people are really taking away Buckley's chances because of his performance against Kevin Holland. But if you look at his fights prior to the UFC, the guy has shown a lot more skill and a lot more effectiveness in his fights. He's more powerful, he's faster, and Impa doesn't have the best defense. So definitely not that wide of a gap in betting odds, in my opinion. And the rest of these I pretty much agree with. So I hope you guys enjoyed the predictions. If you did, make sure to thumbs up. If you enjoyed my content, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.